Okay, this is 252 Pop Fiction, where you'll find all the news and reviews in pop culture that's right to type. Today's top story.
The AMC Universal controversy. Universal Studios dropped Trolls World Tour on video on demand, and AMC is not having any of it. As of now, the movie theater giant has laid claim that they will no longer show Universal Studios movies in their theaters. It's going to be a tricky situation there because the theaters aren't going to do very well with no Universal films. Universal films aren't going to do well with no AMC theaters. You know, maybe they'll just go all on demand.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like going even a little further on that story. It's other theater chains are actually kind of getting into it, like the Regals and the Cinemark and all that. I think it's all. I believe there's an acronym for it. It's like the National Association of Theater Owners or something like that.
But NATO? I don't think it's NATO.
Yeah.
But yes, I know what you mean.
It's the National Association of Theater. I didn't even think about it. But yes, but they were just saying, just because, I get it, because, like, working in the business, I know, like, box office is not really how movie houses make their money.
Right.
They make their money off of concessions. They need the people to come in and buy the snacks.
And that's an interesting thing I've seen, where some of the early opening places with with the quarantine stuff, some of the early opening theaters around here are concessions only. So you can buy the food, take it out, and go watch your movie at home. So it's like, well, that's an interesting. Maybe all the movie theaters become vending houses where they just sell snacks.
Yeah, but then they would have to grossly reduce their prices, because the reason how they are able to charge you $9 for a large popcorn is because they don't allow you to bring food inside.
Right.
So you have to pay those wages or those prices, because if I'm not at the movie theater, if I'm paying $9 for a box of popcorn, I'm complaining at the Costco. Why is this $9? This seems outrageous. For popcorn.
The other problem I face there too is, the movie theaters might be noticing what happened to the music industry, because if all your stuff is suddenly available easily at home and it's convenient and you don't need to go get it anymore, there's a whole shift coming there.
And that's the fear, because Trolls World Tour made over $100 million on demand sales. And again, I'm sorry, it's not even a sale. It was a 2-day rental. So the people still didn't own it. They paid $25 or whatever it was to rent the movie for 2 days. So now when you re-release it to theaters, how many of those people that already saw it at the comfort of their own home is now going to go to a movie theater to see it on the big screen?
I don't think they're going to bother releasing it at all. But what they could do going forward is simultaneous. Okay, it comes out in both. You choose if you want to go see it for $12 on a big screen or $20 in your home.
Well, and again, I'm thinking, like me, if you have a family, and especially a large family, I'm gonna opt for the $20 rate, because look, as I've said before, I don't always pay for all the kids in the first place. Where's the money up? Because this is expensive.
Yeah.
I don't. When I take my family to the movie theater, I can't get out for less than $100. It's at first of all, at $10 a person, there's 5 of us, that's one, so you're already at $50-$60. We want to see IMAX. If we want to see 3D, I'm at $75. And popcorn, drinks, and a hot dog, we're at $250,000, and that's for one family. So yeah, you're definitely making your money. The WB has lost its legal license to Universal Studios for the next 5 years. It'll be interesting to see what Universal does with the properties. Just imagine a Jurassic Park Lego film, or even better, Fast and Furious. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Lego movie.
They might do Lego Dimensions, which was a game that had little bits of everything where you could add on packs. Mm-hmm. So they could do a trip through all of Universal Studios. Maybe take the studio tour even,
Yeah, I was just going to say that as a joke, take the studio tour, because they already have like the Harry Potter and stuff like that. But when you make it all Universal, it's like Jaws, it's everything. King Kong, start throwing all that stuff in there.
We have Back to the Future. They have Jurassic Park in there. All that.
Yeah.
All the Spielberg stuff. E.T. Land. Bring E.T. back to the new generation.
Yeah.
I don't think people would fall for E.T. now. They'd see he's a puppet and not realistic CG. Right?
Well, I don't know because they did rerun those ET commercials with I was gonna call him Henry Elliott. That's not right, but Henry Thomas. And he was like, ET, you came back. And he was a grown man, had his own family. It was real quick. I don't even remember what product they were selling. I just remember being excited to see Henry Thomas still working.
He does directing or something now. You see him pop up once in a while, like, dang, Elliot got big.
Yeah.
I was hoping that somehow at the end of Mr. Robot it would have been revealed that Elliot was actually Henry Thomas. He's been in a problem since that alien came down and touched his brain way back in '82.
Elliot.
Well, speaking of things that touch your brain, 2-inch long insects known as the murder hornet have made their way to the U.S. for the first time ever. That's good news. The Asian giant hornet, Vespa mandarinia, has been known to kill up to 50 people a year in Japan and has the potential to devastate U.S. bee populations, which have already been declining.
All I know is unrelated news. I renewed my subscription to Clark Pest Control, and I will be having a meeting with them on Monday. But with that being said, I think it's it's just one of those things that's happening. We were actually kind of jokingly complaining around the house that it's like the animals are starting to re-inherit the earth because they're everywhere, and the pests are coming in. Like we're having a large ant, spider. I mean, everything is just in the house now, and it's just like. And I know usually with the change of seasons you're gonna get that, but it's like hitting us at an alarming rate, and it's like just noticing. It's like wow, I picked the wrong time of year to cancel my Clark Pest Control.
Yeah,
I canceled it. And immediately, hey, I need to come back on.
You see why it's valuable. Yeah, I was wondering what the animals think. Late at night around, you got the squirrels and the whatever, everything out there, raccoons, possums, all this crap we have here, coyotes, and they're used to seeing cars constantly going around and people and all the chaos, and now there's nothing. So do they think we all disappeared? Or what do the wild animals think about this?
For me, the only funny part is when I look at all those. Those dystopian type, future apocalyptic movies. They all have those scenes, those shots where the vegetation and the plant life has overgrown all the buildings and everything, and then animals are all over the place. And they all had that. And you're like, wow, is that really going to happen? Well, yes. Without the landscapers and doing your gardening, your backyard could look atrocious after only 2 months. And then you got alligators and mountain lions just walking around in the city. Because that's happening.
It'd be kind of cool to see. Well, maybe not the mountain lions. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying. There's a raccoon at my job, and he's just really just out there, and I'm just like, he's a rabid animal. This week's review: Extraction. A black market mercenary who has nothing to lose is hired to rescue the kidnapped son of an imprisoned international crime lord. But in the murky underworld of weapons dealers and drug traffickers, an already deadly mission approaches the impossible. Now, I'm going to say, if you're looking for something for deep, enriched storytelling and plot, this may not be the movie for you. However, if you want full, non-stop, hit their gas to the pedal, action. This is like a throwback to all those 80s greats and stuff, with the exception of the constant one-liners in every other scene. You get a really good performance by Chris Hemsworth. Now, in the context of the movie, are you really going to get his motivation and where he's coming from? No. You might have to do some research on your own to find out, oh, that's the reason why he was like this. But his performance is very believable. The action, again, like I said, is intense. Highly recommended, for the action alone. Highly recommended. It was a good watch. available on Netflix. It was dropped on Netflix. So if you already have Netflix, Saturday night, go ahead, turn it on, watch it, enjoy it. I believe it's #1 in many countries around the world. Since we're all locked in, it's on. You watch it.
Now Thor is making Netflix originals too.
Yes, Thor is making Netflix originals.
I guess they won some like Academy Awards, so I guess Netflix is officially a legitimate movie studio.
Right. There was the De Niro movie. Why am I missing the name right now? Oh, The Irishman. Excuse me. The Irishman had to open to qualify for the Academy Awards. It had to open theatrically, so it opened theatrically a couple of weeks before it dropped on Netflix. So whatever the minimum amount of movie houses you need to show, like an art house picture or whatever, New York, LA, wherever you have to be, they dropped it in those theater houses a week or so before it dropped it on Netflix, so it can qualify and be in contention. But what I believe now they made the rule is you don't need to do that. If Netflix or Amazon or whatever produces an original movie, that movie can be qualified for any of the awards.
Another piece of the changing world of media there.
Yeah.
I'm sure the theater owners probably weren't too happy about that one either.
Again, it's one of those things where it's like the streaming services, they're going to get their money. They get their money monthly. You ain't nothing you can do about that. But for the biggest part of the pie is like, you still want the theaters, and this is kind of like what we were talking about before we even started shooting. Even when the theaters and everything open back up, like Wonder Woman's still coming out in August. And I don't even know by August, are we going to be rushing to the theaters, or are they going to only sell, are they going to block out seats?
Yeah.
And they're only going to make, a third or half of the room even available?
Well, they were saying every third seat, but we have those big recliner seating theaters that only seat 99 to begin with. So every third seat is 33 people in a room.
Right. So it's like, how much box office are you really going to do unless, big movies pretty much get all of the, like if you got a multiplex that has, let's say 10, 9 of those theaters are playing the big summer blockbuster, and the one theater is playing the one other movie.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I said they could also extend and go 24-hour, but then you need staff. So.
Yeah, and even if they did that, 24-hour would be an option.
And that seems to be we're gonna have to extend either hours or number of rooms. Yeah, with whatever the situation is. Same with the gym. They're like, oh, well, every third thing can be, okay, well, then you need 3 times as many, don't you?
Well, a lot of gyms are 24 hours, but yes, you would have to extend the hours, bottom line.
Or something. Yeah, I always went at like 3 a.m. anyway, but even so, like there'd be 24 treadmills, and you go and get on one, and you're the only person. The next person who comes in is going to come within 6 feet of you.
Right next to you, yeah.
So, yeah. And speaking of things that I probably would have watched in the theater but didn't because of streaming services, Frank G recommends Beastie Boys' story. This one showed up on Apple TV and other places on the internet if you knew where to look. This is the film based on the tour, based on the book, based on the life of the Beastie Boys. It's pretty much self-explanatory. If you're into the Beastie Boys, this is going to start you at the very beginning of the band when they were basically kids in high school. And it goes all the way up until around 1998 for some reason, and then jumps to the end. So there's a big chunk missing out of the end. I'm thinking they might be, thinking about Beastie Boys Story Part 2 or a director's cut on Blu-ray or something. It runs exactly 2 hours, and it looks like it should have run about 3.5. So, but as far as the content that is there, you get detailed stories of everything from the punk days, the License to Ill stories. You'll hear lots of things about Rick Rubin, and some funny stuff about Russell Simmons that he probably doesn't want people to hear. Go into the controversy that they had behind the scenes with them turning into the Beastie Boys that we knew of in '86, '87 as the jumping around drunken party frat guys. and their transformation back to what they wanted to be, which was more of the Beastie Boys that went forward with the actual playing of instruments and speaking of things that were intelligent and not just goofy fight for your right to party. So, and of course, it gets a little bit tragic at the end there if you know how the story ends. They kind of breeze past that, which I think was trying to keep it light. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you're into the Beastie Boys at all. It's 2 solid hours of, well, mostly fun and one little bit of sadness.
Yeah.
$2.50.
Again, like you said, if you already know, you're usually with those like a documentary thing like that. When you know that the tragedy, it's
right.
like you do want to just be reminded of the good times. But in the back of your head, you're always going to know, well, they're going to eventually get to this part.
Yeah, and you're kind of prepared for that the whole way through because they're doing it as a live stage presentation in front of an audience. And, it's pretty obvious that there's just the two of them there. And you're like, well, if there was not a problem, you guys wouldn't be doing this tour. You'd be doing a concert right now. So, there's that overall layer of sadness. Like, these guys are probably never going to rock the stage again. But they'll find ways to entertain, though. Well, I'm Frank G, and that's news to me. Yeah.
we kind of brought the energy down a little bit. Well, I'm Coolwater Kurt. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'd like to hear what you think. Leave us a comment down below and let your opinion be heard.
If you like this video, please check out other videos on our channel, like Get Into Character, which is doing really well, and This Weekend.
And with that, sometimes you just got to go ahead and roll the hard 6. And this is 252 Pop Fiction. Will you hear it? First. That was so good.
We'll see how it works.
That was perfect. I think that was perfect. That was
Adonis, pull yourself together.